Hey everybody, it's the boy TY. Hey everybody, it's the boy TY of Stone Muscle with Juvenile Delinquent Part 3. This subject that I'm talking about in this part probably could have been number one, or probably. Please wait while we try reconnecting. Let's see here. Sorry that this is cutting off my phone hotspot because I never knew that I would be able to come to even think of doing any videos like this. So let me go back to my Juvenile Delinquent Part 3. That would shout out to Gary, Boogie, and Pooh, the guys from Southside. My grandmother lived in South Ambler. So when I would go to visit my grandmother, the guys, I took to the guys that hung around there, and we wind up becoming friends. And with the exception of Boogie, me, Gary, and Pooh were the ones who got caught up in our ways and wind up doing prison time, especially Gary and Pooh. Shout out to those guys because they did years. I mean, they did plenty of time for their transgressions. I was so lucky to have a grandmother who would help me pay for my lawyers, or pretty much pay for my lawyers when I didn't even know it, except for the first time that I got in trouble. The first time that I got in trouble as no, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun. This is one of the penitentiary prison stories. Let me take it back to Juvenile Delinquent Part 3, which is what I want to talk about as far as hanging with people that maybe you shouldn't be hanging with. I was a good kid in school. I would get good grades. I wasn't a straight A student, but I'm going to be talking about that also. That might be my Juvenile Delinquent Part 4, how showing off in school and trying to be that guy in school probably got me expelled from school because I wanted to do what everybody else was doing, or do what the bad ones were doing. Smoking in the bathroom, skipping school, stuff like that. That's not where this is going. I'm going to take this to the Part 3 is watch who you. The people that you hang with can easily influence you to do things that you know you have no business doing. And these guys were more advanced than I was. They were a lot bigger than I was, a lot bigger than these. All my friends are just these big burly dudes that were just football players as teenagers. All of them were over 200 pounds once they hit 16 years old. Shout out to Boogie because, like I said, Boogie was one of those who never really followed us deep into the life to where as though we wind up doing time for our transgressions. Now, when you hang with certain people, people that you know that you probably shouldn't be hanging with because it's going to wind up getting you in trouble, then when your mom or your dad or someone close to you pulls you aside and say, listen, You're a good kid. You're a nice looking young man. What do you, going this way right here is only going to end up in one thing, and that's to the juvenile detention centers. And hanging with people that are juveniles like you is probably cool for that moment, for that little bit of time, or that time that you're hanging with these guys. But I'm here to tell you that you're going to have to get yourself together, think, and say, if I keep going this direction, if I keep going out with these guys at night, doing things that I didn't know that they were capable of doing, then you're going to end up in that place where you think you're so bad enough that you wouldn't, that what's going to happen to you by hanging with these guys is going to be the outcome is going to be you being locked away from your family. And like I said, your family suffers the most. Your mother, your sister, your brother, they are the ones that got to do the explaining when you're gone. And it doesn't look good. It definitely didn't look good for my mother, as I said in the other videos, because as sweet and beautiful of a person as she was, she had to come up with an explanation on why I was the way I was. Why was I locked away? And probably thinking that, well, Maxine, you as sweet as you are and the person that you are, you didn't raise him to where as though he couldn't do anything. No, it wasn't. My mother had nothing to do with that. Like I told you before, as a young kid, as a toddler, I was wild, climbing trees, jumping off of buildings, just a daredevil type of a young man, child. And there I go with the again. Pause. Just pause in place of the Excuse me for a second. Make sure I don't lose my train of thought here. I needed a beverage just to wet my whistle, because I went for a 5-mile walk today. That's right. I got up February 3rd, 2021, with all that snow out here in Pennsylvania, and said, get yourself some exercise, get your butt up and walk 5 miles. I walked my 5 miles, came back sweaty and smelly, and jumped my behind, got myself cleaned up. Okay. Don't really have to go into detail about pick who you choose as your friends, because I'm pretty sure your parents, your mom and dad, your aunt, your uncle, or your grandma see who you're hanging with and knows where it's going to lead to. It's going to lead you right down a downward spiral of lies, deceit, treachery, stealing, being mischievous, just doing all these things that you know good and well that you shouldn't be doing. So to the young men and young women out there who have friends that are on the other side of thinking, and what I mean by that is, instead of out there playing football or staying home, doing your homework, doing your house chores, and just staying in the house, because now that I come to learn, in this day and age right now, the best course of action is just to stay in the house. Your family are your friends. Make your family your friends. hang with them, pull out board game, Monopoly, Uno, all these games that we grew up with, and try to get the love that you're seeking on the streets from your friends that, in my case, we're always thinking of doing the things that are eventually going to lead you to being locked away. Just try to find out with your family, especially if you don't have, especially if you don't have um, um, friends that that spark your interest. Your interest should be just going to school, playing sports, and and staying out of trouble. Because as a young man, when I was talking about the physical fitness test in one of the videos, I think it was The Women in My Life, My Journey, Part 2. Go and watch that. As a matter of fact, hit the like and subscribe button, people, because I'm going to keep on giving you insight on the things on not to do and things to do. As far as, like I said, my channel is going to be basically based on nutrition, what I eat, working out and stuff like that. But just be mindful of who you're hanging with, who you're talking to, who you're opening yourself up to, and 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 just just not staying the course of action, like, which is going to school every day, graduating, playing sports. Sports will keep you out of trouble more than anything. And I was a good athlete. I was always one of the kids that did the most pull-ups. I was always one of the kids that was on the top of the board when it came to each and every event, when it came when a football, track, stuff like that. I was just just blessed to be a very good athlete. And probably should have stayed on that course, because I never would have, after school, I would have been so tired from all the practice that I just would have took my butt home, went to sleep, or eat my food, and, like I said, mingle with my siblings, my brother and sister, get them into board games instead of being with my siblings, just trying to find that love on the streets, because there was never a lack of love in the house, my household anyway, because my mom was always working, and my dad, God bless him, Chuck, would be the one home cooking, cleaning, and taught me a lot of valuable things. Taught me a lot of valuable things, like going to the laundromat on your own, washing clothes, and cleaning your house, and taking care of things. So shout out to my dad for instilling that in me as a young man, because my sort of punishment when I would get out of line or do things that he didn't approve of was take all these laundry baskets right down the street to the laundromat, and make sure you wash all these clothes, and no, you can't go out. Which is what I probably should have did. If I could have stuck to those guns, I wouldn't have been to the journey that I've been through, instead of ignoring him and just coming home late at night when I was that kind of kid. I would just come home when I wanted to come home. At 15 years old, yeah, I'll deal with the consequences when I get there, but it was always and stay out of the streets, which I loved, and I shouldn't have loved, because had I not loved the streets so much and just been a badass kid, excuse me for the profanity, because, like I said, I'm not really into a whole bunch of cursing. My grandmother and mother, my grandfather, they never cursed like that. So we always found other words to use in place of something if we wanted to explain something that needed to be have curse words in it. I don't know. So just a little, shout out to the people in my life and who tried to steer me on the right course, but I was just too stubborn and too hard-headed to listen and take that advice of what they were telling me to do as far as not hanging in the streets and following the lead of the three friends that I mentioned earlier. And I found excitement in them, so what we were doing. So it would have been hard for me to tear away from that real easily because, like I said, I've always had that bad streak in me. So shout out to the young ladies and women out there who might be thinking of breaking into that car, stealing that candy bar, or stealing whatever it is that you think that you can get away with. There's cameras everywhere now. And even if there wasn't cameras everywhere, don't take that course of action. Earn your money to where you can buy, get yourself a job. I don't care how old you are nowadays, they'll let you work, they'll let you do papers. Well, newspapers aren't a big thing anymore, but cutting grass, raking leaves, and just staying away from the streets. Stay away from the streets. There's never any good that's going to come from hanging in the streets. Remember, I said that because I've been there, I've done that. I'm going to be talking about how these juvenile tendencies to do wrong eventually led me to the penitentiary 3 times. 3 times for being hard-headed and for being stubborn. And I'm also going to tell you the story of when I was shot. I got shot right here in my shoulder, with a hollow point bullet, and ricocheted, collapsed my lung, and I almost died. But by the grace of God, I picked myself up off that garage floor, knocked on my buddy's door. Scotty Tags, shout out to Scotty Tags for saving my life because he stayed there and made that ambulance call and saved my life. He saved my life because he could have just easily had said, well, I can't do that right now, or not say that because he's got a good heart. So I don't think that he would have ever did that. He's got a real good heart and the smartest dude I know when it comes to putting money in your pocket and figuring out a way to put money in your pocket. So that's another story. And shout out to, like I said, shout out to everyone. And I hope you stick around. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep on going with this. I don't care what people say or what people think. Oh, man, you shouldn't be doing anything like that, man. Fall back. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to relay this message because I don't want these kids walking down the same path that I walked down just because they thought being bad was cool. Being bad in school, getting suspended as many times I was cool, because it's not. It's not cool. You know what's cool? Staying in school, learning, playing whatever sport that you think you're good in, playing whatever sport that you want to excel in. You got it in you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have it in you. Don't succumb to the streets. All right? Take this advice from me because I've been on the street. I'm 52 years old, and I've been on the streets, in these streets, for 30 years, 35 years, 37 years. That's right. I'm that old to where as though when you were getting in trouble that I could have avoided by not hanging with South. I want to say to Pooh and Gary and Boogie that right now they are some good dudes. They are good dudes. They have been through the the penitentiary. They have been through the juvenile system, and now they're not part of that. They're not a part of that. My man Pooh is driving trucks, trying. He's not trying. He's got his life together. He's doing his thing. Shout out to Gary, who was probably Gary was the smartest one and the most devious one, but did the most time. He did the most time out of all of us. And I think Pooh is right behind him. I mean, these guys did 19, 20 like me, back and forth. Because one thing about Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, like I said, the same people that locked up Bill Cosby, America's dad, they only give you, were never a danger because we never were in the guns. We never said, hey man, let's get this gun or that gun or that gun. That wasn't touched any bullets. I never touched a gun. It's just not. When I say we were bad, I mean bicycle, and or as I got older, stealing cars and stuff like that. Never harming anybody. I was that guy in middle school and high school. Like I said, I was a good athlete, and I considered myself to be somewhat of a good fighter, and that's not somewhat being a good fighter, being able to defend myself. I was that guy in middle school and high school that would defect those that I thought were being taken advantage of. I was never a bully. I wasn't that guy. I was that guy that stepped to the bully or to stop what they were doing to that person in the hallway or something like that, or between class or in class. I just wasn't into that. I was into defending those who couldn't defend themselves. So I didn't know this video was that long because I think the long videos are the ones that probably don't get watched. I think you should make them short, within like 8-10 minutes, but sometimes I get carried away and just try to relay a message that is on my mind and just try to help out those young men and those young women who just have another thought that I shouldn't be hanging with. So with that, again, because my connection is bad. So if I'm repeating, it's because on the top of the computer, it says my connection is bad. Like I said, I'm going to fix that. I'll straighten that out, my connection, so that we don't have interruptions like this, because when I give these stories, it's coming from the heart. And I just want to relay it to you so that it might help somebody in the long run, avoid them from taking the steps I did and winding up in a juvenile detention center, or worse yet, the penitentiary. Okay, so this is Stone Muscle checking out. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we're going to keep going with this. Okay, all right, peace out.